Hi, everyone. This is Amanda Grow, and I'm going to do my ethical dilemma on a macro social work issue. My internship placement is with Grandview Family Counseling, but as part of my internship, I've been helping with Grandview for Good, which is a new nonprofit that was started by the clinical director of Grandview Family Counseling. Grandview for Good is a brand new 501c3 nonprofit founded by Holly Willard, the clinical director of Grandview Family Counseling. Um, the nonprofit seeks to address gaps in funding for people who are seeking therapy, because therapy is out of reach for many families due to being uninsured or underinsured. Often for people who have a high deductible insurance, they essentially are paying out of pocket for therapy, and that's just out of reach for many families. So that is our goal. Some of the reasons for the gaps in funding, if we zoom in here, is that clients may need additional sessions that aren't covered. The crime victim insurance is one source of one group that refers clients to us. We get some funding from another nonprofit called No More Victims, but they have to be under 18 years old. Some of our clients, once they turned 18, they're no longer eligible. They may not have insurance. Insurance changes mid-treatment and it's not covered, or underinsured or high deductible copay. So those are some of the reasons that clients fall into this gap. And that is why Grandview for Good was founded, was to help close this gap so that therapy can be more accessible. Startup nonprofit organizations have some challenges. Many grant applications require evidence of program effectiveness and financial records. If you're a new nonprofit, you need some initial funding to get these programs and services going so that you can begin to gather evidence of program effectiveness and qualify for grants. Um, Social work interns who work for free are not always available. So I'm stepping in and doing everything that I can during my internship to hopefully set them up for success in being able to access more funding after I'm finished with my internship. So our first plan to get some funding to get our programs off the ground is to do a fundraiser. And I wanted to discuss my ethical dilemma in the context of this fundraiser. We are calling the fundraiser Smash the Stigma. And it will include a family fun event that includes a pickleball tournament and a chalk art festival. There will be mental health booths and resources provided to help families learn about resources in the community for mental health and to just normalize the process, the help seeking behavior. So the fundraising team decided to do different types of flyers to appeal to different groups that we're trying to advertise this event to. So part of what we'll be doing is a chalk art festival. And so we made a chalk art centered flyer. We wanted to join forces with another nonprofit that did a chalk art festival in the summer. And we wanted to get the word out to the artists that participated in theirs that was in a different part of our county. And anyway, so we made a flyer that was specific to chalk art. Now, our director of fundraising had a contact with someone that does body combat, and which is a type of fitness routine. And so she created this flyer with a fist. So the ethical dilemma is the use of this fist punching image appropriate in our marketing efforts? And this is essentially, I have included a text message exchange on our group chat. The director of fundraising sent out that flyer with the fist and um, included these words. I just showed this flyer to my friend, my body combat friend, and she absolutely loved it and is 100% in. She will teach a class for us and is connecting us to her daughter who works in the fitness space as well. They will both be so powerful in grabbing our fitness audience and expressing how important that is to our mental health. The clinical director paused and said, "This image may be too triggering for our clients and population that have been abused." And the director of fundraising replied, "Good thought. This flyer is just for the body combat and fitness community. We'll use the chalk and pickleball flyers for the other outreach." But the question is it appropriate to use that flyer in any setting if we're trying to be sensitive to those who have experienced abuse. Ethical utilitarianism suggests that the most important thing is to seek the greatest good for the largest numbers of persons. So if this flyer helps drive more people to our event and increases fundraising, isn't it okay to include the fist image? This fundraising allows us to provide therapy for uninsured or economically disadvantaged clients. So if we're achieving our goal, is it okay to use the flyer? Moral absolutism suggests that there are certain universal moral principles by which all people's actions may be judged. And ethical relativism says that the morality is relative to the norms of one's culture. So, in this context, moral absolutism might suggest abuse is in the form of punching or hitting is never acceptable. And I would agree with this. In this way, I'm morally absolute in that concept. But ethical relativism, the context of this flyer, a punching fist into the air or punching bag is appropriate in a fitness setting, and use of terms like body combat and hit are appropriate in fitness culture. So, what does the code of ethics have to say? Um, in with the value, dignity, and worth of a person, social workers respect the inherent dignity and worth of people. So, I feel like this um, value lends itself to this idea of empowerment and fitness. Social workers promote clients' socially responsible self-determination. Social workers seek to enhance clients' capacity and opportunity to change and to address their own needs. So the empowerment that seems to come with like the fitness centered campaign kind of fits into this value. On the other hand, though, social justice in the code of ethics, um, social workers are, we agreed to challenge social injustice. And part of that is um, seeking to promote sensitivity to and knowledge about oppression and cultural and ethnic diversity. So, in the environmental context, I wanted to give you the background here. The Grandview for Good nonprofit is impacted by um, the staff of Grandview Family Counseling. Currently, there are no full-time employees of Grandview for Good. There's essentially the director of fundraising who's just working a few hours that are subsidized by Grandview Family Counseling. And then we also have me, the free intern. Clients of Grandview Family Counseling um, are one of the things that influence Grandview for Good because they are the ones that inspired the creation of this nonprofit in the first place. We have the fundraising team, the target market for the Smash the Stigma fundraiser, future clients, and then we also have an important linkage agreement with the Children's Justice Center. And so, as I've been considering this ethical dilemma, that is something I really want to keep in mind is how will a marketing campaign like this impact our relationship and the trust that the Children's Justice Center shows to us in being a safe place to send the clients who have experienced abuse. So, some cultural considerations. The word body combat could really bring up images of combat. And is that appropriate? Because body combat is a branded fitness term, that one's a little tricky, and I'm not taking that one on in this ethical dilemma. I just wanted to address the idea of a fist, but it can be quite triggering to someone who has experienced abuse. So, laws and policies. There are, of course, many laws against domestic violence and assault. The Utah State Legislature passed the Cohabitant Abuse Procedures Act, which defines and clarifies some elements of domestic abuse. And I've included an image here from that recent bill. Some personal bias. So, my first inclination when I saw this message was, is this that big of a deal? Maybe it's not that big of a deal. The fist image was not triggering to me. In fact, that wasn't where my mind went when I saw this flyer. I just thought, oh, that's great. Um, maybe my personal bias is I don't really like pickleball that much. So the other flyer that just had the pickleball coming through was maybe not my favorite because I wanted to emphasize other elements and other things that would be going on at our event. Um, it was hard for me to want to recommend changing the campaign. I didn't want to seem unsupportive of the fundraising staff's efforts to make the flyer and advertise the event. So, what decision-making model should we use? I pulled this pyramid from the one of the class readings, and I wanted to highlight least harm, which is to choose an option that will result in the least harm, the least permanent harm, and the most easily reversible harm. So someone's good, like if we continue using the image, we run the risk of, causing some triggering trauma responses from our clients. But if we don't use it, we run the risk of, harming the fundraising team and their efforts. But if we're going to practice least harm, maybe the harm to the fundraising team is possibly the least permanent, right? And then if I appreciate that on this pyramid, social justice is ranked near the top. And as discussed earlier, in the Code of Ethics, it says that we seek to promote sensitivity to and knowledge about oppression and cultural and ethnic diversity. So, using this model, we need to lean in more to social justice and the protection of those clients. So, what was the resolution? The clinical director and I discussed this during supervision. And we called the director of fundraising during our supervision and to ask for the flyer change. We asked that we not use the fist image and explain the ethical reasoning. The clinical director has a lot of experience working with clients who've experienced abuse, and she was able to kind of explain her position to the director of fundraising, and the director of fundraising took it very well and was very willing to just to pull that image off and to move forward with just some of our other flyers, including this pickleball flyer. And to evaluate so how are we going to determine like the evaluation of how this went? I think an important factor to consider is evaluating the morale of the fundraising team after being asked to change the flyer. And we'll also want to evaluate attendance at the event. And of course, because we did remove that other flyer, we don't have a way to test its effectiveness, like test effectiveness one against another. But if we have a well-attended event, I think it will show that we can move forward without including a triggering image on our flyer. So a theory, I wanted to discuss person and environment. And there are many images used in advertising that can be triggering for clients who've experienced abuse and many other things. I think once we have eyes to see the kinds of images that are used in advertising, we can really see how the environment can feel very unsafe for people that are that have experienced traumatic things. We can practice least harm by trying to make our event empowering while also being very sensitive to clients. One suggestion that I had that could tie into this professional behavior element is a sensitivity training for all of our Grandview for Good staff. Our nonprofit staff has different life experience and different different kinds of training than professional social workers or other mental health professionals. So if we can do some sensitivity training so that our events feel safe for marginalized populations and those who have experienced abuse, I think that can help achieve the mission of our nonprofit, which is to promote mental health in the community. And so that is something that we can do to be more professional and more effective in achieving our mission. So thank you for your time.